All right. Call this meeting of Toledo City Council regular meeting for March 20th, 2024 to order. Our first item is pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. I will take a roll call. Councilor Mix.
Here.
Councilor Strong. Here. Councilor Kaufman. Councilor Burns.
Here.
Councilor Sylvia.
Here.
Council President Bush.
Here.
And I'm present. Everyone is in the house tonight. Our first item is a presentation from Georgia Pacific Mill Public Affairs Manager, Andrea Formo.
Us too.
Well, I figured that they're,
They're not just lurking back there.
We're just here for support.
Here? We good here?
Yeah.
Okay,
Great.
all right. Roll over one of those chairs or whatever you can. Okay, we have the presentation that we could find up in there. Okay. Well, while that's happening, I just will take this opportunity. So Mayor and Council, thank you for the opportunity to come and speak to you tonight. Really why we're here is we just wanted to give kind of an update on where we're at with our most current project, which is our effluent pipeline. And then we're going to give you a little bit of background about Georgia Pacific Toledo. You all are very familiar with it, but just to kind of set the stage. So go next slide, please. So as you know, Georgia Pacific Toledo has been here since 1957. We are GP's first and only mill constructed from the ground up. We're an integrated pulp and paper operation. So that means we're producing everything that we're bringing in. We have over 400 employees, 430 right now, I believe. So we're upping that even more. We're the largest manufacturing employer and the largest taxpayer in Lincoln County, property taxpayer. So, okay.
Hi, my name's Caleb Unum. I'm a project engineer at GP. So in late 2023, a leak was discovered on the pipeline and a member of the community pointed it out to us. We quickly investigated it, confirmed it, and have been having dive teams do further investigations throughout the winter to plan for our repairs this summer. The 3 phases of repair or further investigation that we need permitting for, which Scott will get into in a minute, but we have a liner that was installed in 2004 that we need to inspect to make sure that it's still working, or if it's failed, figure out how and why. There's a leak 1,000 feet offshore that we'll repair with a clamp style wrapping clamp around it. And then the diffusers, we have annual inspections and they show partial burial of the ends. So we did some bathymetry to confirm that, and we'll be doing dredging. I guess the term is dredging, but really just blowing the sand away to look at the diffuser and see if there's anything broken underneath the buried part and get those functioning again. So that's all planning to happen in 2024. And then we have a whole bunch of agencies and permits that we have to work with to get to that point.
Yeah, so for permitting, go next slide, please.
And you are?
Yes, I'm Scott Austin. I'm the environmental manager for the site. It doesn't really seem like we need the microphone. So for permitting, yes, there's 8 different federal, state, local agencies involved. Anytime you do construction in waters of the state, you have to do a permitting process. So the permits we will be seeking, the main one is through the joint permit application. That's the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. It also goes to the Department of State Lands and the Department of Environmental Quality. So for the Department of State Lands, we'll be doing evaluation of natural resources and effects determination. For the National Marine Fisheries Service, this is also part of the joint permit application. We'll be doing the slopes compliance language. Sorry for the alphabet soup, but slopes is standard local operating procedures for endangered species. And then for the Department of Land Conservation and Development, we'll have to do a coastal effects evaluation report and analysis of enforceable policies. And this next bullet item is already complete, confirming easements that we have proprietary easements to access the areas of the repair. The other two, the final two bullet points here are separate applications. So an ocean shore alteration permit and beach access permit through the Oregon State Parks. And then Newport requires a beach and dune area site review for the area of work on the beach. So those are the permits we'll be seeking for this project. Some of these timelines are long. The the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers has up to 120 days to review our application, which could impact the timeline. So we're hoping to get through quickly, and we've had pre-meetings with these agencies.
You're not removing any pilings, are you?
Piling? No, no pilings in that.
It's an inside joke. You ask us
It's not
support
funny at
about
all.
that and
Yeah.
yeah,
Something with barnacles.
no, that's. I'll tell you after the meeting if you stick around, we'll put it down.
Any questions on that? Alright, next slide, please.
Oh, yeah. Mhm.
So as Scott said, we have begun working with a consultant firm to fill out the applications. Those are ongoing. We also have hired an engineering firm to perform like a comprehensive study of the section of the beach on the section of the pipe on the beach and looking at it holistically and determining like permanent or future repairs that may be needed to ensure long-term success with the pipeline. And it's just an old pipe, so we want to make sure it's doing good. Pending all of the application process completion, we're hoping to get in as soon as we can this summer. Really the crux of it comes down to permits, weather and tides aligning. So we need low tides and there's only certain windows where that works. So getting all of that coordinated is the biggest challenge for me, but we have a big team. So that's hopefully going to facilitate all of that happening. Fall, we'll continue doing ongoing work if needed and looking at the results from our engineering study, which we should get in May, is what the next phase, either repair or what else may be. So.
The other thing that's listed up here is some GP hosted community open houses. And so all those invitations are, as of today, at the printer, all 8,600 of them. They're going out to everybody in Toledo and Newport, but you all will get an invitation first because I don't want the public to get it and then you start getting calls and everybody is surprised by that. But those are taking place mid-April, so April 18th and April 20th, they'll be in Toledo, and April 17th will be in Newport. But those open houses are not centered around the effluent line. They're part of that communication, right? To make sure the public is up to date on what's happening, but more so what we're trying to do is just communicate with the public about who GP is, what we do, and make sure that we're being good communicative neighbors. Any questions?
Well, I will be the first to tell you that your team and Mark have been the most communicative GP people that I've dealt with for many years. Thank you.
Any questions from anybody?
Any questions on the presentation?
Question about the pipe. Is this the pipe that goes out like my beach?
Sure is.
Okay, and is it buried under the sand until it gets out a ways? Is that how it works? Or?
Yeah, so it's the way they built it in 1958 and then 60 and 65 were the last addition to the ocean. It's a trenched out in the rock below and laid in and then mostly buried in cement. And then where we're on the beach, it's all at least 7 or 8 feet deep underneath the sand. The last time the depths were taken in 2003 or 2004, it was 3 to 4 feet. So it's actually been getting more buried over time.
Okay. That's what I was thinking, but I wasn't 100% sure. Okay.
So do the repairs and such on there, or cleansings, I guess. You put out thousands or gallons of effluent a day on there, so you're gonna have to shut the pipeline down for a bit.
Yes, so the current plan is to have a 48-hour period during shutdown where we perform the investigation of the liner and the repair during that time. Because our ponds have a buffer period that if we can pump them down before this event planned and then have that buffer time to fill up while we're still operating. We can minimize the impacts to operations and still have a safe work environment for our crews on the shore.
You're always watching your hands.
Well, I'll just let it open it up for somebody else here.
I've had two GP questions that have absolutely nothing to do with your presentation tonight, and I asked them.
Yeah.
Yes, go ahead.
One is during king tides, how close is the water getting to coming over your ponds?
Coming over the berm.
Yeah, like, I keep thinking at some point they've got to raise that because sea levels are coming up and the king tides and like, how close are we getting to that spilling into the Yaquina?
I can't specifically answer that question, but I have been out there during very high tides and there's a few feet of space.
So a few feet.
I think there are lower spots in the site where parking lot, like we have parking.
Yeah, I know the parking lot floods, yeah. And my other question, I moved here 3 years ago from Texas and my husband worked out in the oil field, so very much in that world. And when we boom in the oil field, man camps are very quickly built out of portable buildings. And they're able to house incredible amounts of employees in a very quick, concise manner. And I've never seen anything like that out here. But I know half of the employees at GP do not live in Toledo because we don't have enough housing. Has GP ever considered employee apartments or man camps or something to help relieve some of the pressure off of Toledo? Because we just don't have buildable land.
I'm only chuckling because it's one of the things that Andrea and I talk about it almost every time we get
Okay,
together,
good,
so.
good, good.
Man camps?
No,
No.
Trying to.
Yeah.
All right, well, bring it back, bring it back, bring it back.
In the oil field, they just build container towns.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
Stack them and
Yeah.
they're out.
Sorry, we laugh at everything, almost.
No,
Not
it's-
everything, but.
It's a nice relaxing environment. We appreciate this. No, I mean, housing is obviously something that we have to consider because we do have a big contingent of our population
Yeah.
that lives out in the valley. And we also, I'm from Minnesota, right? I moved across the country for this role. And so housing continues to be an issue for us, but you know, we at GP, we're a subsidiary of Koch Industries, who has a really great relocation group, and so we work through them, you know, man camps. Isn't something that we've considered quite yet, but you know, we are exploring other options. There's other properties that GP owns in Toledo that we're looking at renovating for said purposes of housing humans.
Well,
So
that's good to hear.
Is
Thank
one of
you.
them that house that's kind of across from GP down above the railroad tracks?
it is, yes.
I was wondering about that. Cause it's just down below me.
I know where it is.
And it used to be that the air quality was so bad. I thought that's why they had to buy it once upon a time, but I don't think it's that way anymore.
I don't believe it was air quality. But there was, no.
I don't know the exact reasons.
Any other questions for our guests?
Just a comment, and that is that there's a lot of people that work there and they know what goes on. But the problem that we always run into with visitors and such is, what do they make down there? And people assume that it's paper towels or diapers or something else.
No.
And as long as I worked there, I could never get anybody to understand that if there was just a small video or pictures or something of those huge rolls that are shipped out in the semis every single day, would take away
Put one in
the
the parade.
big curtain that is, that they do that. They don't have to show.
You roll one.
Yeah, or display one.
That would crush cars.
If there was a way that there could be one on display, and there used to be, because the wharf down here had a big roll of paper that they bought from the mill. And I'd show them that. I said, that's what we make down there. And we make enough paper every single day down there to go from Portland to Ashland on the freeway if you unroll it. And people are shocked about
Yeah.
that because that's every 24 hours. And I think to get Georgia Pacific in this area and such to understand, so other people can say, oh, they don't make bad paper, they make the cardboard boxes that show up from Amazon. And that's beautiful.
So yes, and great point. And two things to that. So part of the community open houses that we're gonna have all sorts of, I was actually just writing this before I left today, all sorts of content that shows what we produce, where that material goes and the role that it plays not only in e-commerce, to your point, but also agriculture and various different economic sectors across the West Coast. We have a very strategic asset here and we really want to showcase that. And also, and Scott knows this, I just finished a video, we just finished a video of GP, which showcases not only the amazing work that our skilled trades folks do down there, but also the materials that we produce. So the big old roll that you're talking about, got a really pretty video of that next to some drone footage. And so when that is ready to be released, I hope that you will all see that as well.
We'll bring it here first.
Okay, well, yes, we'll bring it here.
Yes.
You guys can be our test subjects.
So,
That's
because it just seems people always ask, what the heck is down there? And
Well, they
don't
always give away
understand.
paper towels and toilet paper and stuff at
Yes,
the parades and
Well,
stuff.
it's
So that's
giving
why
away
everybody's
cardboard
convinced that.
boxes. They only do that for the cardboard box race.
Yes, for the boat race and such.
But that's why people think that's what they make.
Yeah, and so, again, if there was ever a way that you could just display some of the wet strength rolls so they wouldn't disintegrate, it would be so awesome. It's like, we make this goes out and gets turned into boxes and it comes to your house and then you ship the old box back and we do it again. So I do believe you guys, that Georgia Pacific, we're still the #1 recycler in Oregon. And I would tout that and just tell people that all the time.
You should have the video at the library.
That would be awesome.
That's a good idea, yeah.
Well, as a person who grew up near 2 of those white paper plants. Just, there is no comparison. I'm just gonna tell you. Okay, because those 2 plants, the one in Halsey and the one in Albany. One in Albany, you'd start rolling up all your windows, turn all your fans off in the car and everything else. It didn't matter. You died for the next 5 miles going by that
Yes.
plant.
Used to be.
Okay. And with Halsey, I went to Central End High School, get a west wind, right over the high school all day long. And so, yeah,
That's what's wrong with you.
probably, oh my God.
His was paper, mine was no good.
My last comment is that Georgia Pacific down there, as far as environment and such, people just cringe when they see that. But I tell them, I said, that is not smoke, that's steam coming out. And the rest of it on there, if there was any hazards. And we have had testing at the schools, we've had testing all over, and it's always come out very, very, very clean. And so I still commend Georgia Pacific for doing that and keeping up on environmental stuff. And it's getting better every year because when I went to school up on the hillside where the ball field and such is now, we used to have what they called snow days because of the flakes that were coming out of the mill there, and then they raised the stack. So I still think all the time they're getting better and better at the environmental stuff.
I moved here from Minnesota and I remember north of the Twin Cities was a paper mill.
In
That's so
Sartell.
horrible. How come you guys don't stink?
They have their days.
Yes. Ponds.
It's the pond.
It's usually, yeah, it's usually.
The ponds and the chits
Yes.
smell worse than the paper production.
Yes.
I don't know,
Way
I know
worse.
up the most in Idaho, CWP was rotten. They do toilet paper towels.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
Smell
See,
like
that's, they
miles
made,
and
that's
miles.
what they made in Albany and Halsey, and, yeah, no.
Good job.
I'm just
Tacoma
saying.
aroma.
And I think the one you're talking about was Sartell.
Aroma of
Is actually
Tacoma.
close to where I'm from, and
In
that was,
Sartell,
yep,
that
Sartell.
sounds that rings a bell, yeah.
Yep, so IP mill, and I'm fairly certain that was a bleach operation as well, so.
Yeah.
Well, I know once in a while, the effluent I do believe the big majority of that is, what is it, lignite that is out there that turns, there's a big cloud of the affluent, from the affluent line, and I.
The color.
Yeah, it's the same, I always tell them, it's the same as if you put a mud puddle with a bunch of leaves in it, and that brown stuff that's filtering out from the leaves, that's what's going out there. It's
Yeah.
nothing hazardous.
So any other questions?
No,
No,
All
we
right.
just tell all the little kids that it's a cloud factory.
that's what I told my kids.
Till
It's a
the
cloud
ones-
factory.
My kid thinks it looks like Auschwitz with a big tower.
Oh, the cloud factory sounds better.
Okay. Having been to Dachau,
Yeah, it's
yeah, I can,
nothing.
no, no.
Oh.
not
Thank
that.
goodness.
Thank you all.
That's all right, yeah, that would have helped from me. Good to see you all again.
With that comment, you're dismissed. They're a cloud.
All right.
They're a cloud.
Oh,
You're full of rain.
thank you, Tracy, for wonderful
Got a minute?
conclusion.
Keeping it real.
They've only lost it.
Those
All right.
You.
We have. Do you have any visitors that would like to address council this evening?
You guys.
Fine, thank you.
Is there anyone online that would like to address council?
If there is anyone online who would like to speak to the council, please raise your hand electronically and you will be recognized. I see no hands raised, Mayor.
Right? Next item is consent agenda, which includes the minutes from the meeting held December 6, 2023. I would entertain a motion.
I move to approve the minutes from the meeting held December 6th, 2023.
Second that.
Been moved by Kim, seconded by Tracy to approve the consent agenda, which includes the minutes from the meeting held December 6, 2023. I will take a roll call vote. Counselor Kaufman,
Yes.
Counselor Strom,
Yes.
Counselor Burns,
You betcha.
Counselor Sylvia,
Yes.
me, Counselor Mix.
Yep.
Council President Bush,
Yes.
and I vote yes. Motion carries 7-0. Discussion items, draft resolution establishing a nepotism and personal relationships in the workplace policy. Doug?
So, the city attorney and I have been talking about nepotism and where we do have, there is some state law on that, but it also is advising that you still create policy around that to address those issues where we do have some of those kind of issues. We do have, you have a mayor and a son that is a police officer, you have a council president and a husband that is a community service officer. And there has been items in the past where we've had employees dating other employees or in significant relationships. So we thought, it's time we got to get something on the books on this, and we're not in a big hurry. There's nothing, pressing going on, but we just want to open up that discussion and get a good document put together for a nepotism policy. And the councils, how they view it, want to go with it as well. So with that, I turn it over to Mike, because he wrote majority of that policy, so.
Mayor and council, I would start first by noting that the ORS 659-309 reference in the council action request and then the resolution should have an A after 659A.309. There is a 609. They started renumbering those and I missed that in drafting this. So this really is something that was mentioned in the last city conference that we've talked about. The last conference that the three of us went to. It's something that you see on the listserv. It's something that's recommended. And really, it's not just the nepotism statutes, but ORS 659A309 prohibits discrimination of the employment of a family member and has exceptions. So it's kind of these, it's 659, it's the can't discriminate. And then the nepotism that you have to comply with, so it's both of them. And I just want to read a little bit of that to you. Except as provided in subsection 2 of this section, it's unlawful employment practice for an employer solely because of another member of an individual's family works or has worked for that employer to A, refuse to hire or employ an individual, B, disbar, discharge disbar or discharge from employment an individual, or C, discriminate an individual in terms of compensation or in terms of conditions or privileges of employment. It goes farther on, C, the exceptions, you can't discriminate. But it also says, an employer is not required to hire, employ and is not prohibited from barring or discharging an individual if such action would place the individual in a position of exercising supervisory appointment or grievance adjustment authority over a member of the individual's family, or in a position of being subject to such authority which member of the individual's family exercises. So I mean, we not only have the anti-nepotism, but we have this discrimination policy. We don't put this policy in place and you have a family member come along, we can't discriminate against them, but if you know, it's you fall into the definition of a family member and you apply to a job in the police department, public works department, and that position reports to you know, somebody farther up the chain of command, you can't you don't have to hire them. So I mean, this anti-discrimination is kind of that piece in this policy is helping us. The nepotism, clearly there's 3 ORS statutes on nepotism. They're not, you know, 244, 175, 177, 179. They're not overly detailed in they contemplate that local governments will establish a policy, and if you don't have a policy, you can't have nepotism. And nepotism is really defined as favoritism without regard to merit. And so you have that nepotism, you can't show favoritism without regard to merit, but then you also have the contrasting, you can't refuse to hire them, borrow from bar or discharge them from employment or discriminate against them in compensation because they're related to a public official. So I know I've overly complicated this by looking at the looks on your face, but I just kind of wanted to say that it's those, you know, it's these 3 statutes and this statute interacting together. So I looked at a whole probably 8 or 10 different cities and government entities to find a policy that and I guess before I get into that, it's to the extent that you know, I know cities where the city managers had a romantic relationship with other people. I know, you know, siblings have worked there, spouses have worked there, spouses have worked here in the same department. And way back when in 15 or 16, I said, we need a anti-nepotism policy, but I just didn't have the support to look at that. So, you know, and Councillor Kaufman is here, so she's actually speaking. She does understand. but, you know, you can't appoint, employ, promote, discharge, fire, demote a person who's a member of your household. But the state law doesn't define what any of that is.
So
And,
I'm the idiot that went and read all those state statutes. Thank you for writing this, because as usual, when I read a state statute, all I see is lawsuits. And because they don't define anything, they don't lay any ground rules. I refer to most state statutes as the full employment policy for attorneys everywhere. Because they don't define, and so it leaves it to litigation to define. And in today's HR world, we need to make definitions, and we need to narrow the scope of a lot of these things that need to be done, and this is one of them. I appreciate how succinct this resolution is.
probably, Mayor, except for the whereas statements that I was trying to get in all the history.
It's okay, compared to what you see in state law, though, it's succinct and it's to the point. And I appreciate that.
And it's understandable.
Thank you.
Yeah, when I saw the title for this, I was like, uh-oh. And then I read it and I was like, I'm pretty pleased with it. Like, it was a pretty good read. So, you know.
Well, and I'll just say the definition of, you know, I've seen a number of places where counties have handled the different sheriff's offices, right? You have a county policy that says you can't directly you can delegate authority to somebody else to make those decisions. And they do. And then the county commissioners pull the policy and, you know, report
One of those county
government ethics commission. Yeah, that's a good hypothetical that very well could happen.
Yeah.
Has happened, so just not here.
County. But I've seen other places where you have the sheriff and the undersheriff and the captain and the lieutenant and the sergeant, and then you have a low-level person that's you know, that's gonna be a son-in-law or you know, to a sheriff that I know, and he waits to ask until he retires. I mean, because there was no county policy.
Right.
And that's just it. It doesn't really define what.
Yeah.
And so with this policy, I've kind of added the definition of chain of command and added the, you know, if you walk through it, you basically have the 7 definitions. You've got 4 general rules, and then you've got procedures that's broken up into employment decisions or supervisory relationships. And the transfer to a different position issue is you know, that paragraph sub B, section 5(1) sub B. That's just something that I wrote, and Doug and Amanda have helped wordsmith. And so, you know, what, you know, it goes to, you can't, you know, in reading the chain of command definition, you can't have a supervisory subordinate relationship. You could have somebody farther down the chain of command.
Has to have at least one interim step.
Yes, and if it doesn't, and that's the person that you're gonna promote, you're gonna take, the policy allows you to take another department head or the assistant city manager or the city manager and delegate the authority to them to make all of those supervisory discipline, discharge, evaluation decisions, and it delegates to the city attorney if it's the city manager, it delegates to the city attorney the ability to make decisions related to collective bargaining agreements.
I appreciate the flexibility because we are a small town.
That's what I was.
And there are going to be instances where the best candidate is your son-in-law. Or your cousin, or, well, we're all cousins in this community, but you know, it's just.
Strike that from the record.
I know, not many trees, lots of, not many branches, lots of leaves.
But well, like, all that, we're all, you know, I'm joking, we're not that. We're better than that. We got people coming from Minnesota all the time. And fill them in the gap. But it does give that flexibility. So it's not like, oh, you're my. No, you gotta lose your job. So I like the flexibility where if there's an existing relationship, that delegation can be handed off and still preserve that valuable employee's position, and while making sure we're not having that nepotism existing. So I did appreciate that. And everybody knows I'm a bad joker, so.
Well, and the kind of subsection B. When you look at supervisory relationships to subsection 2, family members, household members, and romantic partners shall work together in direct supervisory subordinate relationship under any circumstances.
Yeah.
That's just state law.
Yep.
And so when you look at sub B under that, it says one employer or the other must transfer to a different position in the city or leave employment within 30 days. Again, that's state law. I mean, and so we built in the flexibility where that can be delegated from one department head to another. If I hate to use examples with the employees, but that we have, but say we've got a department head that ends up in a romantic relationship with somebody else, and everybody direct reports to that department head, well, that can be delegated somewhere else to supervise that individual.
Somewhere in my employment history, I won't say where, we've had the same thing happen, and they cross-trained through the supervisors and switched their jobs. They traded jobs because one of them's wife was working for him after rearrangement of departments. And moved that department to under his umbrella. So it wasn't by their choice. It wasn't at hiring time or anything like that. It was something to deal with. And they were dealing with that one. And then another one married somebody in a department not even related to their department. So they ended up switching them out.
Yeah.
You know, he got moved to the position where he was overseeing her.
Yeah.
So
No, and
cross-trained and switched them
I mean, you do, and you see this in the military.
all the time.
All the time.
All the
All the time. You know?
Holy cow.
But that's the easiest way to explain it is.
So I mean, it's just here for your consideration, and I wrote it as a discussion item, and if you decide you want to move it to a decision item, you can, or if you decide you want to make changes, or if you have any other questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Seems pretty cut and dry.
Yeah.
It's kind of amazing. It's
I
not
thought it
already a
was-
policy.
Well, now I wonder, what
Nice.
else do we need to do that we haven't done?
Well, now you know why we brought on.
He's got a long list.
I know a few things.
He's got a list.
I can tell you, our policy
Don't want to know.
back at the turn of the century, by the way, I love that phrase. We're about that thick. Now they're about that thick.
Wow.
Okay, it's been a snowball rolling downhill for 20 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have a lot more policies.
Yeah.
We have a lot.
We do, and this will be eventually incorporated into the personnel policy, but like the last one, we just kind of think it's overdue.
Yeah. Well, I also appreciate the fact that you're given time and to do this, because you wanted to do things like this for quite some time. And it's always, hold off on that. So it's nice to see more progress in the last year or so.
I read through the resolution and I like the resolution. I have a considerable number of issues with secondary part on it. And
The policy itself.
yeah,
Okay.
policy itself.
All right.
And the first one was in section 2, where it says, as far as employment with the city and such on there, that's probably agreeable that if you're employed by the city, then you're gonna fall under that. But it also goes on to volunteers. And we have a considerable amount of volunteers, library, fire, and such on there too. So it would maybe preclude a number of people from being able to volunteer. Yes.
No, it just means if you volunteer, you get.
Counselor, I think, could I answer that? I think the opposite of that. Without a policy, if we were to exclude volunteers, then if Larry has volunteers in the fire department and one is a captain and is married to the person underneath him,
Yes.
he's violated state law. There's not a policy that's applicable to them to allow, and granted, if it were a direct supervisory subordinate relationship based on the policy, he could delegate it to somebody else. Without the policy, he's kind of in a bad
You can't
spot.
do it.
So if a husband and wife team want to be volunteers, or boyfriend and girlfriend or whoever.
Yeah.
Then they're in there, and if one of them is above the other one on there, that can't happen, right?
Direct supervisor, yes.
So, and I'm sure you have changed.
But then you just delegate to somebody else.
With our policy, it allows them to delegate that
To another person.
to supervisory to another person.
Instead of being in squad 1, you're in squad 2, or instead of.
So like Larry and Wanda working together. Larry just can't be her boss. Somebody else. has to be.
Okay, well, that'll never happen anyway. It ain't gonna matter what the
Small
situation.
town, what?
They used to.
Happen.
They'll be in a body pass getting credit for that.
So this puts mechanisms in place for us to address those situations so that they can. It enables them to do.
Yeah.
Well, I thought that meant that it couldn't happen,
No.
and that might preclude
No.
people from volunteering and such on there.
Yeah.
So like at the library, if there was gonna be a volunteer, or, we had some other departments and such on their volunteers that maybe they want to help or be there, then they couldn't do it because their significant other would be in charge.
No, this improves their chances because it,
So they could do that.
Yes.
Okay, they could volunteer,
Yes.
Yeah.
even if.
So if everybody's volunteering for Denise in the library and she's the volunteer coordinator that goes out and gets them and they agree to sign up for X number of hours a week. Without this policy, including volunteers, I don't believe her husband should.
So he could not.
He could not volunteer without this.
Under state law.
Yeah, under.
But what we're defining
but
it,
this
so
fixes
that
that.
this fixes that.
This fixes it. It allows us to, one, you have to have a local policy in place to allow that, any of that. And it doesn't really define what supervision, discipline, how far up.
Yeah, it's how.
So that's the whole, you think of a sheriff's office that has one person at the top with 200 deputies and it's it's a pyramid.
Mhm.
And the guy at the bottom, the newest, lowest deputy, is the sheriff supervising him? Or is he not?
Yes, I know.
And if you don't have a policy in place, you can't do, I mean, that's a drastic example, but that's.
Or you couldn't hire somebody.
Well,
because of
but-
that.
Right, but then the state law also says you can't discriminate against somebody because
Because they're related.
they're related.
Yeah.
So it kind of puts you in
Which
a.
is it?
So, right,
This policy fixes that.
This
Right.
clarifies
Yeah.
the mud.
So it clarifies it so they could
Yep.
do that.
Yes.
As long as we put somebody in between them on there at
Yes.
every level.
Or delegate it to.
But I didn't
to a
read that.
Different department head.
All I just saw was chain of command and such on there and it.
Yeah.
seemed like it
Or
was
like in the fire,
getting into the woods and stuff.
or like in the fire, they put them in a different company or something like that, so.
Yeah, well, I mean, if it was spelled out a little easier, that would be, so that you could understand that as far as things on there,
It's pretty clear.
If,
yeah.
Next question?
Okay, you guys go through this, you guys read this?
Yeah.
You read this, read it on there, and you didn't have any questions about it at all?
no, it's wonderful.
Okay, well. I don't
But
know.
bear in mind, some of us are used to reading legal briefs and some of us are used to reading tax codes, so this is
Yeah,
English.
yeah.
I couldn't understand.
Tax codes are not.
Yeah, they're all.
You were a special breed,
Yeah.
I'm just gonna say it.
Oh, yeah.
Have no trouble sleeping at night.
But,
No, it's because, Stu, I have to say, because of when my son was going to apply, I went and read through all this stuff because I needed to make sure that A, he could, B, it wouldn't be a conflict because I didn't want that to be. I didn't want any of that to come up because he's my kid. Right?
Yeah.
So I went and read those wonderful ORSs. And I was extremely pleased when this came into my
Right?
life last Friday because like, thank God.
Yeah, I was
It
like,
clarifies things. It makes things clear of who does what to who. And thank you, thank you, thank you.
and I expected 50 pages.
You're not the only one, especially after reading the ORSs.
Right, that's what I mean.
Mike was feeling
under
tired.
section 3 that says, household members, so. Under household members, let's just say that, two individuals or whatever want to share an apartment or whatever. They could not do that, is that right?
Yes, it does.
As a public official.
One of my first.
I think when you're. Yeah, you reside under the same roof as a public official. That's a definition that I forgot that I created too, but public official. For the purpose of this policy includes the mayor, the city councilors, employees, interns, volunteers, city, Toledo.
Yeah,
So we're all public officials under the state law.
Yes.
Right.
So yes, those people that reside under your same roof, you would not be able to supervise
right,
directly.
right, so they.
This is all about direct supervision.
Yeah,
Nothing to do with.
Yeah.
Unemployable.
Well, they wouldn't be able to work for the city if, let's just say you had two people that were.
No, this allows them to.
This allows you to.
Ron and I lived together.
Because.
But you don't directly supervise it.
No.
No, but
But if that instant come up, then if they.
then we wouldn't be able, with this policy, you'd be able to go from that person
Yes.
supervising and move that supervisory over to another same level employee.
Right, and so they could not be in.
I think you're.
You're never gonna be at a place where you can directly supervise somebody. That's the definition that we've done.
If,
But you can go below or you can go equal to. You know, you can take somebody's department head supervisory and delegate it to another department head or the assistant city manager. But you can't, you're always not gonna be able to supervise a household member or family member. It's just the way the nepotism statutes are written, but then the discrimination statute, you still can't decide not to hire them
Because they're a household.
because they're a household.
okay,
If Wade. Here,
yeah, okay, I understand.
Became the
that. My
utility
question
clerk.
is though, but if two employees just want to rent a place together and they are in that chain, they wouldn't be able to.
What are you talking about? They're not in a romantic relationship.
Household.
They're not related.
Stu, I think you're confused with it banning them from being able to work.
Yeah,
That's what you're thinking, but this is allowing them to. So if your son came into a job, say you're the police chief and your son came in and wanted to
just,
get hired, you would have to delegate his supervisory to somebody else or have somebody between you and your son. That's all this is doing is
If
allowing
Wade
people to work.
came in and wanted to be the new utility clerk. Finance director, utility clerk. That would be direct
She
supervision.
can't supervise him,
So what they would do is they would hire Wade
but if.
and now Doug is.
If the hiring authority, either you as a council who hires me and Doug and
Right.
and the judge. Or Doug, put in writing a delegation of. Amanda's not gonna supervise her husband or her household member.
Not at work anyway.
That's funny. That's going to instead. Or maybe the public works director is going to instead.
Somebody else.
And the attorney's gonna make, actually, that doesn't work, but that person's gonna do it all. They're gonna do the collective bargaining stuff too. If that's a written delegation, then we're good. We're complying with policy.
Okay,
So it's allowed.
okay,
Because of this
Yeah, it's allowing all of these different relationships. They could still be employees, they just can't directly supervise one another. And it gives us mechanisms to
so they,
shift the
like I was
supervisor.
saying, then if two
position.
people.
You can be roommates,
You have
not
a
lovers.
supervisor could not rent a room or something to somebody that was directly under them.
No, it's
That's
saying that
roommates.
can happen,
They're
just
not
that then the
romantically involved.
supervisory role of that employee would go to someone else.
Yeah.
It does not bar you from renting. It doesn't bar you from doing any of that. All it does is say, okay, at that point, now the supervisory role becomes onto somebody else.
That's what I was just saying.
No, it wasn't what you were just saying. You kept saying you couldn't rent, you couldn't do that, you couldn't.
Settle down.
Well, Stu,
You know, hey, if you wanna just say, fine, that's.
no, I want you to ask a question and then listen to the answer.
I was listening, and you were saying one thing, and that he would have, that couldn't happen, that would have to change his position or one or the other, so they wouldn't be directly supervised.
Right.
Yes, that's what you're saying.
Yes,
right?
and I think that's true.
Yes,
So if you and your subordinate, your direct subordinate, who you supervise on the public works crew. If you're the two parks guys and one's in charge
mhm,
and you're sharing an apartment. And you're splitting rent. And maybe some months you're paying more and he's paying more. Should you be the one that decides? If you're the one in charge of your buddy that's living with you, should you be the one to decide the overtime schedule? Okay.
so,
As a conflict of interest
yeah,
question,
that's what I'm.
because I would submit no, because you have a financial interest in how much your roommate makes. And so you shouldn't be giving him all the overtime. So instead of you, we're gonna give it to another public works supervisor. And he's gonna make the decision about the overtime schedules. Or he's gonna, and supervise that employee.
Well, it's just good to get this all. straightened out.
No, I understand. It is, I'm answering as I'm going along.
Yeah.
Counselor, yeah.
Yes. And this, the romantic partners on there, so we can't have people working in the city that if one romantic partner is in charge of another romantic partner, is that
Any relation.
any relationship?
I think somewhere in there, it's
Yeah.
like 2 weeks.
Yeah,
Well, and the 2 weeks is something that I
And I like
created.
that, because
but
sometimes
2
we
weeks
do
on
fast.
And it's personal and ongoing romantic relationship, right? So if the new,
I didn't know if that was a legal term or anything that it was in.
the romantic partners.
Romantic was a.
It was in the policy that the other public entity had drafted that, I believe that,
And that was from,
I mean, Sorry?
So is there a problem with the romantic partners?
You know, spouse or domestic partner or individual as a personal and ongoing romantic relationship for more than 2 weeks. So I mean, if somebody that reports directly to, you know, public works director or fire chief or police chief, assume all of them are single and just pick one in your mind, but their direct report, they're dating that person for more than 2 weeks. Should that department head be the one making the decisions, their evaluation, their decision whether they should get a raise, their promotion,
Schedule.
picking their schedule, should that person?
That would be
making
on
that
the front
decision?
page of the paper.
And again, I'd submit no, and that's why we have this
I think
there.
2 weeks is a long leeway.
So, okay, I didn't know how you came up with the 2 weeks, so that's why.
I just created it
I think that's
because, you know, maybe it's a one night stand and you hate each other afterwards. So-
Well, that happens. Anyway. So this is just a question.
Yeah, sorry, I don't.
What about previous romantic partners or? Because I would rather work for a current romantic partner than a previous.
Oh,
one.
yeah, that could get ugly.
That's your problem,
You're
not
getting
ours.
no overtime. You know, see what I mean? So that could be an issue too, but that might not fall under this, that might fall under something else.
I don't know that.
That would be the, what is it?
I don't think that fits the definition of.
That would just be like a discrimination or something.
Yeah.
Workplace thing, the,
Yeah, that's.
Workplace discrimination. I think.
no, not discrimination,
What we talked about discriminating.
the difficult workplace, uncomfortable, whatever.
Oh,
Hostile.
You know what I'm talking
hostile
about?
work environment.
Yeah, that's what that would fit under.
That's
So
probably
there was
another
an
policy we'll
thinking
need.
issue
I'll take,
for this. I was
I'll take the responsibility on the romantic partnership, because when I first came across, my question to Mike on that was, well, what defines romantic partner? And so that's where he threw, well, what if they are just together for 2 weeks and we call that, I mean, that's just a date we threw on there. We don't know. I mean, if you guys feel it's shorter, longer, I mean, that's what it could be, but I mean, that was the answer question of what is a romantic partner? So.
Yeah, because their rules, I didn't change their rules, Stu. I just want to explain, so. You know, I maybe misspoke. I don't want you to think I misled you intentionally. But their second role, family members, household members, and romantic partners shall not work together in a direct supervisory subordinate relationship. That was there. But
Legal definition. It's a romantic partner.
that was there, but it wasn't.
I hope the mic didn't pick that one up.
No.
Yes, Lisa.
No, we started having side
I know.
And then so once I.
Don't do that again, Jackie, because yeah.
That's what I would.
I said romantic partners is anybody that you're at, any kind of touchy-feely stuff.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, the mayor lost it.
Legalese.
Swapping anything, you're romantic.
Touchy-feely.
Romantic.
Legally is on
Now,
our
that's terrible.
Probably domestic partner, spouse, that's kind of. On the personal and ongoing romantic relationship was the. You know, for more than 2 weeks, that person should be telling their supervisor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Next.
Jump to that. It also says that employees must notify the city manager or city attorney of any current or potential supervisors for relationships. So, if somebody sees something or whatever, about a person that is over another person on there and they have to report that, is that what that must is for? Or is it point driven?
I think it's probably. It is must, because
Reporting.
it is must, it's self-reported, because it's saying if you become in this situation, you need to let us know so that we can try to make the arrangements to get that situation resolved. If you fail to, then you could be in trouble because
You will be in trouble.
there'll be
State law.
discipline because you're breaking now what is the policy and state law by allowing direct supervision over somebody that fits one of those definitions.
And part of this, we don't have a policy, you have that direct supervisory relationship. Or supervision without the policy, however level. Somebody reports it to the Oregon Government Ethics Commission,
You're done.
the employee can be fined $5,000 if I'm not. If I'm not correct.
Oh, yeah.
For each violation,
Yeah.
and personally, not the city's not gonna be on the hook, the individual
Right.
employee is.
So this protects the individual as much as anything.
I,
Only if they choose to follow it,
Transparent, yeah.
but it still protects the city whether the employee chooses to
Mhm.
reveal or not.
Yeah.
I appreciate your questions, it's good to discuss this.
Well, I think it's it's just something that's come before us and, other people want to ask questions. I mean, if I ask a few, then other people speak up a little bit. But,
So where does that come from? Are you saying that the rest of us can't read and we should ask more questions about it?
no, yeah, but I'm just saying that if I ask a question, maybe it could create some other questions on there, so we get it pretty leaked out on there.
What your next question is?
Well, that's, I guess, pretty much what I had on there. And, as far as employees and the must part on there, it is that if the creation is, if there's a sort of somewhat complaint driven or mandatory that if, like I was talking earlier, if somebody was gonna be under the same household, they come to the city manager and said, hey, we're renting this apartment, or we gotta do this, we got whatever, then it's up to you to kind of work around that. And so it pretty much falls onto you as a city manager to do that. Because it's not only just the direct employees that people are getting paid and such, but it's also in the volunteers and such on there. And I can see this coming up in the future that, if we get a lot of volunteers that are like, oh my, then they'll come to you, or do they go to the fire chief for that, or the library?
Well, I imagine they're gonna go to the fire chief, but then the
He's
fire
gonna
chief is
come
gonna
down.
come let me know about it.
Okay, so, I mean,
And then
it's good.
between me and the fire chief, we're gonna develop a plan on how we can make this work.
And that'll all
Like,
depend.
Yes, I mean, as long as it's out in the open, so that's the chain of command, you're gonna go up the chain of command and such on there. So now's the time to talk about this stuff.
Well, and that's what
Everybody
this does for me, is it puts it all out in the open.
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, this whole policy is so that now it's out in the open. This is what you need to do. This is who you need to talk to. You have this situation arises. Okay,
Well, if you go by state law, it's really strict and
but it's ambiguous
Yeah.
at the same time.
it is, but it's not for the individual. It's more lenient for the employers and stuff. Not the individual, but the individual is the one that pays the price.
Yeah, the individual
So-
one that pays the fine,
Yeah.
the city's never gonna pay a fine.
In my opinion, this takes it and allows us to manipulate the state law to our benefit because it is a small community. We're gonna have relatives. If we don't do this-
Navigate the state law with the local policy.
Thank you.
Thank you.
But if we don't do this, then we have to do the state law and that's crazy.
Yeah, and I'd rather talk about it right now.
Yeah.
And
Right.
ask questions and such on there.
Yeah.
so that everybody.
I
knows
absolutely would
what
too.
The chain and such is, because it is a small town and this is something that is just being brought for us and such on there, so.
And once this is accepted, then this is part of the hiring package and it's transparent for anybody being hired.
Yes.
And they know what they're walking into, they know what the rules are, and right now they don't.
Yeah.
And they know they have to suffer.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And right now they don't.
So next question. Well, or questions, I'm pretty done. But, you know, it just seems Emily, a couple time to kind of flesh out this and ask.
Yeah,
No, I
we
think,
just did it.
I'd like to make a motion to move this to decision item.
Me too.
Well, do I have a motion? Do I have a second? Didn't
Sorry.
say it in the right.
I said I
was
second
talking
that.
and She was, that's why.
You're just not even listening.
She was, you didn't hear it so well.
We just don't.
As he's hitting his head.
Well, since she actually said a second, then I'll take hers. It's been moved by Frank, seconded by Tracy to move this item to decision items for this evening.
What's the resolution number on this?
Lisa.
That's what Lisa will tell us when we get there.
Okay.
and maybe, subject to adding a to or a 659-309.
So
As amended.
Yeah, as amended.
Okay, when we get to that stage, we'll do that. So it's been moved by Frank, seconded by Tracy to move this from discussion item to decision item. I'll take a roll call vote. Counselor Kaufman,
Yes.
Counselor Strong,
No,
Counselor Burns,
Yes, please.
Council President Bush,
Yes.
Counselor Mix,
Yes.
Counselor Sylvia.
Yes.
I vote yes, motion carries 6-1. All right, moving into decision items, we'll do this one first.
I move to approve resolution number
1546.
1546, a resolution of the Toledo City Council establishing a nepotism and personal relationships in the workplace policy as amended.
Second.
All right, been moved by Tracy, seconded by Frank. To approve resolution number 1546, a resolution of the Toledo City Council establishing a nepotism and personal relationships in the workplace policy. We'll take a roll call vote. Counselor Kaufman,
Yes.
Counselor Strong,
no,
Council President Bush,
Yes.
Counselor Burns,
Yes.
Counselor Sylvia,
Yes.
Counselor Mix.
Yes.
I vote yes, motion carries 6-1. Next item. Resolution number 1545, creating a committee to review the city charter. Lisa?
Mayor, council, this is just a follow-up to this discussion that council has had in previous meetings. It is a resolution to create a committee to review the city charter. As previously mentioned, the city charter, the council has had some discussions of either considering compensation or other procedural things within the city charter, and so to amend the city charter, it has to go to the electors. And so in other cities, it's been very successful to appoint an outside committee to review any recommended changes. And these would go, the committee would provide any recommended changes if there are, and it would go to the ballot for the general election. On the staff report, you will see the makeup of the committee. I did reach out to several citizens, and thankfully we do have Lisa Watson, Eric Erickson, and Ann Edmondson who've volunteered to serve on the committee. And I believe one of our citizens is actually online just watching. I really appreciate the fact that they are willing to consider being on the committee.
Council, any comments?
Have we decided when the meeting or when the first meeting is gonna be set so we can set when we're always gonna meet?
No, following tonight's meeting, what I'll do is I'll reach out to the entire committee and I'll send out a doodle poll. And if you're not familiar with it, it's just an online poll with different dates and times selected, and you'll just be able to show me your availability, and then based on the most attendance, I will pick the first one and then we can make our future decisions from there. Yes, and while I'm thinking about it, the last time the council looked at this resolution, there was a question which I highlighted. In the terms of office, there was the way I had written the statement in there. It was unclear as to how the council would fill the appointment. So I changed it to, there's a vacancy on the committee, the city council may appoint someone to fill that unexpired term, since it is a limited duration.
Right.
And then the other one was on the next page, the draft charter would be presented on or before July 3rd. Which, looking at the dates, we can go a little later than that because the ballot measure doesn't have to be filed with the county clerk until September 5th, but I left that on there, so.
I assumed it was middle of August.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too, but I did reach out to the county clerk and September 5th is the correct date. So working backwards, we can kind of.
But if we have to push at a meeting, we can. But I'd still like us to shoot for that 3rd of July.
That's why I left it on there.
Yeah. Okay. Any other questions, council? Sue, got anything? Anyone else? I've reached out to the League of Oregon Cities. This is something they've been working on with a lot of cities, so I'm gonna reach out to them for any help, guidelines, stuff that, you know, we might consider to bring us at least into the latter part of the 20th century and hopefully into the 21st. So.
I do believe they have some model charters.
They
in
do,
their
they have a
library.
model charter that's fairly.
But this last year, they've done a lot of work with various cities. And so what I'm looking for more from them is, this is where some places have been able to do it. This is places, you know, where you haven't been able to do it, blah, blah, blah. Because I don't want to go down roads that eventually would be shut off. All right, I would entertain a motion.
I move to approve resolution number 1545, a resolution of the Toledo City Council creating a committee to review the city charter and appointing the individuals as presented to the committee. I'll second that.
It's been moved by Kim, seconded by Tracy to approve resolution number 1545, a resolution of the Toledo City Council creating a committee to review the city charter and appointing the individuals as presented to the committee. I will take a roll call vote. Councillor Kaufman.
Yes.
Councillor Strong.
Yes.
Councillor Sylvia.
Absolutely.
Councillor Burns.
Yes.
Councillor Mix.
Yes.
Council President Bush.
Yes.
And I vote yes, motion carries 7-0. Next up, contract approval for a Springbook software update. Take it away, Amanda.
All right, Mayor, councilors. As you know, we've been working on changing our credit card merchant platforms. This has been in the works to go from our previous vendor to a new vendor, which will give us the ability to have the automated phone line, the better website for credit card payment, all of that. That vendor works in conjunction with our utility billing and financial vendor, Springbrook, and that's something that I've presented to you at our council goal setting in January, was potentially doing a Springbrook software upgrade. So our representative got back to me recently and it works, they're kind of working a deal for us. It works in our favor as well as theirs. He knew that we were looking to update our software, but we needed to budget for that expenditure. So we couldn't do that till the new fiscal year. However, he presented me, a couple weeks ago, he emailed me and had gotten permission. It works better for on their end to do both upgrades at the same time. So if they implement our new credit card merchant with our old software, when this summer, when we go to the new upgrade our software, they have to do it all over again. So to prevent duplicating work on their end, they are actually offering If we can sign by the end of March, they are offering to do both conversions at the same time and not bill us for the software update until our next fiscal year. Is what this is saying. So we would do the migration,
Huge.
which is huge. They said it's in the quote, and he assured me they wouldn't bill until July and payment wouldn't be due until August. Which is very generous on their part. They do all of the training, all of the work, all the implementation, and all of the support and maintenance. So there's two pieces to this contract. We have the annual software maintenance, which we pay every year anyway. So this new version is a little bit more expensive, another $5,000 a year above what we were paying for our old software. So that's that $15,946. That's just annual software licensure. And then the one-time system migration fee is the second piece, the $19,350.
Are these both gonna be payable in August?
Yes.
Okay. I wasn't under, when you said it at the beginning, it almost sounded like we were paying the system migration fee now, and then we didn't have to pay the software subscription until later. That's why I was asking for that. Okay.
Yeah, no, they will both be next fiscal year.
Okay. That's all they cost?
That's all. Which I worked with other vendors in at previous employers, different positions, and this is actually.
And how often do we have to do this? Upgrade them?
We haven't upgraded we did a one-time. We still had the same old version, what we're working in, but they did they upgraded the version, but it's still the old software a couple of years ago. And we paid, I don't want to misspeak, but it was 10 to 20,000 just to be in the old software we're still in right now. This is migrating to the cloud-based.
How long do they anticipate this to last before they need to do another upgrade?
This will be cloud-based. So in other words, and that's why you pay a little more on the annual subscription. Because they keep the cloud-based,
Real-time
updated, and it's updated to the latest and greatest.
So more or less, you're gonna pay the same 15,900 every year regardless?
Well, it'll go up periodically. I mean, it'll have to go up.
Yeah, there's.
Yeah,
nothing
but
just
not a
periodic.
huge jump is what I'm.
Yeah, not so this 19,000
Yeah, the one.
is for
7%.
basically purchasing the new version of the software and them doing all of the installation. And what's great about this too is they have the subject matter expert for each module. So utility billing, general ledger, accounts payable, miscellaneous receivables, all of the different modules we use in finance. And each subject matter expert will work with us, do all the installation, and then do all the training and record it. So we have everything set up to our specifications. And they support us throughout and continue to, but we have recorded training for all of our processes, which I'm very excited for.
So did I read in there somewhere about an annual increase couldn't exceed 7%?
I believe that's correct. That sounds right.
Okay, I'm
Yes,
not finding it now, but
it's on the order terms.
Page 24.
Yeah, right there.
Yes,
Page 24.
it's kind of in the middle. So yeah, year over year, they wouldn't go up by more than 7% for that 15,000.
I know this is a really stupid question, but we've already budgeted for this and it's not gonna come due unless we don't have it.
We haven't budgeted yet. We're working on the budget now, so
Right.
that's why he's bringing it to us and we're bringing it to council for approval because this will be something we have to budget for.
Yeah,
in the next fiscal
absolutely.
year.
Yeah, okay.
And it does hit the goal of one of the goals we established.
Yeah, oh yeah, yeah. I mean, I know it's absolutely necessary. Yeah.
Well, so this is the third upgrade that I've dealt with. So they don't do it all that often.
No.
So.
Hopefully not again for a long time. They're not.
Hopefully not.
but-
Well, it'll be a self-updating system.
Yes.
They're easier in the future because of
Yeah.
this, but yeah.
We hope.
So right now, like, let's say we're paying 10,000 a year for it, for the maintenance. But if we want to, and there are minor updates that they give us, like for tax codes and things like that, for printing out your W-2s and stuff. But the actual backbone doesn't get updated
Yeah.
unless you pay to do it.
Yeah, we're
which
not
is-
gaining any functionality.
Yeah, we're not gaining any.
But by this, we do. This is going to a whole different version of software.
Yeah.
Well, I just know what professional software costs and this is cheap.
And they work specifically with government entities, so.
No, I'm surprised with how reasonable it is, but that's great.
I am too. I was actually quite shocked when he sent me the quote.
Yes, sign them as well.
Yeah, very pleased.
Any other questions? Yes, I am.
I'll move to approve contract with Springbrook to upgrade to Springbrook's enterprise cloud software and authorize the city manager to sign and execute the contract.
second that.
You have to fight for it. You got in there.
Come on, so I'm not fighting.
Big old fat boxing gloves, big old-
We're not gonna go Rochambeau, okay? All right, it's been moved by Tracy, seconded by Frank to approve contract with Springbrook to upgrade to Springbrook Enterprise Cloud Software and authorize the city manager to sign and execute the contract. I will take a roll call vote. Counselor Kaufman,
Yes.
Counselor Strong,
Yes.
Council President Bush,
Yes.
Counselor Burns,
Yes, please.
Counselor Sophia,
Yes.
and Counselor Mix.
Yes.
And I vote yes, motion carries 7-0. Next item, grant award contract for the Department of Land Conservation and Development to bring compliance with newly adopted House Bill 3395 and other rules. Go
You
ahead.
guys, authorized us to apply for this grant. So we did get awarded the grant for 10,000, and that'll help basically pay for additional hours that Justin will be putting in towards making us comply or getting us to comply more completely with 3395. We have done some of the updates of 3395. This should get us to where we're in completion of compliance with House Bill 3395. And these grants, it was actually DLCD reached out to us because they knew we had already done some work and they were like, hey, we can help you finish it up. So
Nice.
that's what this is, and just allowing me to sign and so we can get started, as we can't start billing to it till they have a signed and executed contract, which we already have started kind of quietly.
Any questions, council?
Well, they're still gonna be working with the planning commission and such on there.
Yes.
Keeping them, then it'll come before us and such on there, whatever needs to be.
If there's changes to the ordinances, yes.
Yeah, right, 'cause I think that new.
But they'll be vetted through the planning commission first.
It's nice to have a full board on there.
It's the big House bill that's 36 pages. It was related to housing.
Yeah.
Providing housing.
It'll be fully vetted then.
Yeah.
So then we just draw down on this grant as the work is
Completed.
completed?
Yep.
And then does this expire? Does it have to be used up by a certain
You
time
have 1 year.
in 1 year?
That won't be too hard.
It won't be too hard.
Yeah.
Any other questions, council? I would entertain a motion.
I move to authorize the city manager to sign the grant agreement contract from the Department of Land Conservation and Development for bringing our local land use laws into compliance with House Bill 3395.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Been moved by Kim, seconded by Tracy. To authorize the city manager to sign the grant agreement contract with the Department of Land Conservation and Development for bringing our local land use laws into compliance with House Bill 3395. Take a roll call vote. Counselor Kaufman,
Yes.
Counselor Strong,
Yes.
Counselor Sophia,
Yes.
Counselor Burns,
Yes.
Counselor Mix.
Yep.
Council President Bush,
Yes.
and I vote yes. Motion carries 7-0. Next item. Anything with the state is all. Fill in the blank.
Reading through
Just
this.
go to bottom.
Gotta teach him the bookmarks.
He does. He does.
Oh,
Go to the bottom.
There we go. All right. Lisa,
Dear council, this council report was included, following the executive session the council had earlier this evening. Doug had a 6-month evaluation and based on his contract and the good performance review, the city agreed to pay his, increase his pay to $120,000 annually.
and for the record, note that it's currently at 115.
Yes.
So that it's a $5,000 raise for the year. Just want to make sure people understand that it's not a giant jump.
But he earned it.
Yes, he has. Any questions or comments, council?
Just say that we reviewed the contract that's on there, and I'm glad that I wasn't on when the contract was established. And so great to see that. And I think Doug is very deserving.
Let's do it.
And there's certain ways you work that.
Oh, okay, yes, I will, if you, okay. Let me make a motion to
Yep,
increase
just
the
read
city
that.
manager's annual salary to $120,000 effective March 1st, 2024.
I second it.
Great job. You're welcome.
Motion by Jackie Burns, seconded by Kim, to increase the city manager's annual salary to $120,000 effective March 1st, 2024. I will take a roll call vote. Counselor Smith,
Yes.
Counselor Kaufman,
Yes.
Counselor Strong,
Yes.
Counselor Sylvia,
Absolutely.
Council President Bush,
Yes.
Counselor Burns,
Yes, please.
and I vote yes. Motion carries 7-0. All right. Reports and comments. Lisa?
Let's start with me.
Yes, I did.
Your eyes got big.
I was trying to think. So I did pass out some bundles this evening and Evelyn, please, talk to me after the meeting.
And we came out Friday.
Yes.
Remember.
The staff put together this flyer and it went in the every door direct mailing to all PO boxes and 2 of the routes for anyone who lives in Toledo regarding the Ammon Tank Reservoir replacement ballot measure, the primary election. I will finish the webpage and get that up and running tonight before you hand these out. I know I have more and you should not have started with me, but I can't recall.
You want me to come back to you?
Yes, please.
Okay. Chief Robinson, hiding back there. Come on up, Chief. Because she's underneath a microphone.
Legs are asleep. I'm sitting there.
I know,
Right?
that's, see, one of our legs have to be awake and I'm electing you.
Yeah, I only got one out of 2. Nothing huge here. We're getting ready to start wildland training for the year, so you'll see some stuff behind the station. We're gonna burn back there again. Kind of do a bunch of clearing of all that brush. It's kind of normal for us. We'll work with Oregon Department of Forestry. They'll come in and do some of that with us. And then we invite other agencies to come over as well. And
Do you need additional sites?
I don't think we do this. Yeah. Start down in that gully and work up out of there.
I was gonna say, I know where there's a.
Yeah, last year we burned out at VFW and it went really well. It was a good time. It was a drafting drill and burn. And this year we're just gonna do it out back. We haven't done it for a few years there. We got a bunch of Christmas trees from a couple of years waiting to be recycled, I guess. We're gonna go Juno project on them. But not much more than that right now.
Well, Chief, I have to tell you that the word around the county about the ropes team and how involved Toledo has been nothing but stellar. And I want to encourage our volunteers to keep doing that because it's very, very valuable here. as we all know, we seem to either live in a wetland or on the side of a hill, and so.
Yeah, yeah.
Saturday,
Yes.
Saturday.
awards banquet.
Oh, Saturday, yes, the awards banquet. Yes, at the Elks. That's right. I forgot about that. I got a note on my desk.
I was gonna say, I don't remember, put an alarm on your phone or.
Yeah, that's it Saturday. So, yeah, come on
Hey
up.
there, it'll be great to see if you are.
Yeah, no kidding. Why not? Call me.
Okay.
I know where you live.
Yeah, no kidding, huh?
Their house,
Call me on the
yeah.
lawnmower. Yeah, the ropes team, we just hit our 100th call in our decade or in our service. The very first call we ever had as an established team was in Toledo. We had an ATV over the bank up on Baber. And then the 100th call was with Toledo up on Sunny Ridge. Someone drove off the bank up there. So it's kind of a funny thing when I heard it was 100th call, because I was on the first. Wasn't on the 100th, but I was on the first. I got a funny story. So we had to put that plug out there to the rest of the team. The team has grown. We started out doing just ropes, and with a lot of that, it's vertical access. And it's usually a battle between us and the Coast Guard, who gets there first and gets to rescue them. We're in like 50-50 sometimes, but the team has grown now that we have members that do tower rescue. So a couple of years ago, we purchased all the personal gear. So when you get on a tower, you can sense the RF in the working around it. It has to be de-energized. So they have some of that to be done now. We have dog harnesses, which we have used a couple times. And then we're doing more confined space stuff because we, work with Toledo a little bit, and it helps out with public work stuff that we do. And as a team, the next training they're working on this large is structural collapse. And so we're working with that, and then some of the paratech rescue equipment that we have to expand on that, because paratech is about the only one that I knew of. This may have changed, but they were the only ones that met the true urban search and rescue structural collapse standards. That's some of the equipment we have, and will be put into that mix hopefully. So trying to get a little bit of diversity throughout the group, not everybody in the entire group does all the subgroups. It's a couple from here, a couple from here, and we all get together, and it's all ropes. It's just, are you dealing with some heavy overhead or confined space, bad air? So then we get the come together of equipment. So yeah, that's been a very exciting thing, honestly. Thanks for bringing that up. I always enjoyed that. One of the founding members of the team. So
Remember that.
that was great. Yeah, it was a good time. Still is a good time. I get to go play. I don't do the fun stuff, but yeah.
So I'd like to just say thank you guys for the St. Patty's Day breakfast.
Yes.
And thank the volunteers. It was very well.
That went well. That was a good time. Yeah. So, yeah.
I
Thanks for
apologize for
everybody.
not making it. I was still jet lagged and I was out.
Oh, that's okay. It was fun. We had about 89 people through the door.
Good.
Awesome.
And then we had a few more that we fed that were, we actually had a couple of very large donations from a couple of folks. And so when they come in, it's like, you just go eat, it's okay. So we didn't tally those numbers, but then the people that worked it. So yeah, it was a really good time. Talking about doing a couple of those a year, one in the spring, one in the fall. More of an open house and try to get more public interaction with what we do and just coming up and seeing us. Instead of us sitting down.
Talking to Shannon, she's got an idea about October for a chili cook-off.
Yeah, we threw that a little bit, and we're talking about doing a little chili, kind of a competition type thing.
Don't you usually do one every year anyway?
We did one years ago.
1 year.
Yeah, we did one years ago, and we really didn't do a good job of planning it as we could have. And it was fun. It just
Fun,
wasn't,
I was there.
it wasn't the success we'd like to have seen. And
Yeah.
I think we've got a group now that we could do this a little bit smoother. So.
Get
I
some
think-
real entries, huh?
You guys don't need to enter. The guy from Wyoming will.
Oh, let's go.
Gauntlets did it.
Let's go.
If you do a chili cook-off, does it have to be the traditional, like
No.
red
No.
chili?
No, what I was talking to Shannon about is she was thinking just like prizes, and I was like, well, you could break it down into different categories, and she's like, oh, like spiciest, no meat, vegetarian, there could be all
No,
those
well,
categories with.
I'm from New Mexico and we
I
make
agree.
green chili stew.
I was thinking
We
white
call
chicken
it
chili.
chili, but it's
Oh,
not
yummy.
Mexican.
Right, and
My favorite
there's
is.
curious about what chili is or isn't.
Right,
Oh,
right.
So there needs to be either no definitions at all.
Like I can make
Or-
Texas chili, but I can also do green chili stew.
Yeah,
which is
so-
great.
We could get our city attorney to draft that.
There you go.
The city attorney can't cook.
Man, it's like you've been here forever. That was great. Tracy's gonna make pulled piling chili. Anyway, that's about all I got. I'll see everybody Saturday. And thanks. It's fun.
Chili today.
You brought that up.
See you Saturday.
Yeah.
Smells the face of the.
Yeah, you're getting better.
Keep pace.
Should've stayed a bit longer. It's more
So we had a
comfortable.
fire last
Chili.
week, Stacy may have heard about it. We made an arrest probably within a couple days of that incident. And there's good charged with reckless burning and arson and whatnot. We're actually going to grand jury on that tomorrow.
Was there a reason? Did they have a reason?
Was there a good one ever?
Ever, like, just?
For fun?
Drugs.
I mean, at that time of night, there is no good reason.
Well, yeah, right.
Drugs was the only contributing factor to the fire.
So on that fire. What are we gonna have to go for like a ton of extra porta potties then this summer, or what will it take to?
Well, we were by CIS, because we had two toilets in each. They pay for 4. So we got 4 porta potties out there right now that CIS is paying for, well, they reimburse us for. And then once they give us the all clear with their investigation and everything, we're ready to start moving ahead with reconstruction or whatever. We do have replacement on that, so it was insured for 52,000. And I said, so that's all, and she said, no, you have full replacement, and she says, have you built the bathroom lately? Yeah. I said, yeah, and I told her the price, and she says, well, that's probably what we're gonna end up paying. So, it will be full replacement for the same, and it would be ADA and all that now.
I was gonna say, this is the opportunity to bring those up to
Yes.
current code, because
It would,
wheelchairs couldn't get in there before with the step, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
but we are covered minus 1,000, or I think it's a $5,000 deductible. So.
So this is. I don't know if there's any answer to this, and you can tell me if you just don't know. If they're able to hold the person liable, would they be reimbursing the insurance company or would they be reimbursing us? as the
Yeah,
city?
Mike and I have been working on that and
So it's something not yet understood or
I
not.
believe we have to file for restitution on our for it, but it would be on behalf of our insurance company who will get the restitution paid.
My guess is they're gonna pay for the construction and then the restitution, which they likely often never get.
Yeah,
The victims will go.
But we can add the 5,000
Yeah, we
to the
would.
restitution.
Yeah.
Right.
well, that was just shitty.
The likelihood of us getting any of that one.
Yes.
Slim to none.
Not good.
Keep pace. Yes. Any other joyful news?
No, sir, that's it.
All right. Lisa?
Yes, I do.
Ah.
So just a reminder, in April, there is the LOC Spring Conference and it's at the end, the 24th through the 27th. On April 24th is our council work session, so I know for sure that Mayor Cross and Councilor Bush will not be here for that. But that night is instead a community pop-up, not a typical work session. So I reserved the library and it's kind of like it's a fun night, but figure out some stuff of what to do that night, whether it's board games or sack races or something, I'm not sure.
Okay.
Yeah. And then, on the next week, there is a URA meeting instead of the council work session. Doug has some applications for the URA to consider for the rehab program.
We have two applications that are coming forward for that, and if you guys are, for you guys to consider.
Excellent.
And then on April 2nd, just a reminder, LOC is holding a community visioning and strategic planning workshop in Newport. And so didn't Counselor Sylvia want to go to that
For the
for the Newport one?
second,
Yeah,
yeah,
okay. And then I don't know if there's anybody else who's,
I asked you to sign me up for it too.
okay.
8 a.m. to 3 p.m.
And I think I asked you to, but I will message you about that because I think somebody has scheduled me appointments.
Okay. Well, I can still register you, and if you don't show up, you just don't show up.
So yeah, let's do that.
Okay.
That's Tuesday, right? April
Yes.
2nd?
Right.
Okay.
I know, it's gonna be a away, but it's right in Newport, so it's an opportunity.
And that is all I have.
You can sign me up for it. I'll step out, or I have one other meeting that day and I'll just step out and do that one quick. Shouldn't take more than an hour. Anything else, Lisa?
Nope.
By the way, great job on the flyers.
Okay.
Well done. Ian? Oh, no, come on.
Want to hear from you.
You don't get to hide out back there next to
Every
Steve.
time I drive down Business 20 by Dairy Queen, I want to wave at you guys and roll my window down and say, good job on the water line. It looks like it's going well.
Oh.
Oh, no?
It is. Okay, no, it is, I got the report earlier today.
Oh, yeah.
It is typical Toledo that nothing's mapped the way it should be mapped,
Of
and so
course.
we had a hiccup. That's how I would term it.
Works.
Hey, been here too long, okay?
Are we getting past the hiccup though? We've identified where our little lost line is,
Where, or what?
your little lost line that you couldn't locate.
It wasn't a lost line, so within the city, we generally don't put in the service lines for folks.
Uh-huh.
And so we have to go off of either knowledge or hearsay, word of mouth type deal. Long and short of the contract, we had to do some boring, hit a service line, and it took us 3 days to figure out exactly where it was because the previous homeowner said basically it went over the river through the woods. Which it didn't, it went
Straight to grandma's.
underneath the shoulder where we were boring. So it took us some time to find that, which is good because we had a couple different folks that were without water for pushing 3 days and they were very understanding. We even mentioned putting them up in a motel and they're like, no, we're fine. You guys keep pushing forward and we appreciate what you're doing. So that was great. So as for that water line extension, we're pushing forward. I think we have about 200 feet roughly to go. We've hit a couple bumps, we'll say. Today we found a old way station for trucks. And I think it's roughly 6 feet deep by about 6 feet wide so far.
Wow.
Concrete. So we're gonna have to get through
Can you
that.
sell that?
We have to get through it first and get a good groove in it, we'll say, to put the water line in, but it's getting forged ahead. My guys are working safely, which is awesome. That's what can be expected to get the water out there to the west junction. We're hopefully to have the digging done by the end of the week was the plan. Again, finding that large piece of concrete didn't help today, but we're still plugging away with it.
So do you want to get rid of your underground ways?
Well, the problem is it's a couple feet underground and we want to be down 4 foot depth and that's exactly where it is going down. So.
How long ago was that way station there? I mean, I don't ever remember one there. Stu, you're old enough.
Yeah, it's been there. I've weighed cars on it. So,
See, I figured that.
yeah.
Oh, that was sly, Tracy, I gotta tell you.
Sorry.
It was very functional. They did a lot of tickets there.
Well, apparently there was actually a filling station and gas station there on that site too, close by where Affordable Spaces is. I learned that through the conversation with them.
I do believe there's a gas line that you're probably gonna run into.
Yeah.
Yeah,
There
you
is
should
that.
know about that.
There's more of a high risk area for Northwest Natural. We'll have somebody on site while we're doing the digging. And we'll do it carefully also. So. Well, we've had a busy couple weeks, specific last week, we got a lot of things knocked out. Road improvements and patchwork. That some of you might have seen Southeast 10th Street from East.
Beautiful.
Third event. And it's been redone. They did a nice job with that.
Yes.
The Butler Bridge crossing in front of Georgia Pacific. It took a little longer than expected. It came out beautifully. Very, very smooth transition.
And I kept all my animals home from visiting, okay? No
Well,
interruptions
then
from
when it
them.
was time for them to go out, there wasn't any traffic, so, but I take it back. There was some traffic. 'Cause there were a handful of people that drove through the barricades. But, so the crossing turned out well. It was a collaboration with Georgia Pacific by making sure that they were during an outage, to minimize their
Impacts.
the impact on the facility. The railroad tore it out, took a little longer than expected, and we had to do some extra cutting, but I believe it worked out for the best, and Road and Driveway did an awesome job laying the asphalt. The corner of Northwest 11th and Northwest A Street, there's about 910 square feet. We did a 2-inch grind down and then an overlay. North Spruce Street, we did a dig out and a 3-inch pave for about 85 feet. Where it ends from City Road to actually a private stretch that comes around 15th. It was in dire need. We took care of it, and there were some sinkholes there also. Elizabeth Street, which is off of French. It was a very bad entry point for EMS. We went ahead and paid that too. It turned out very nice. We did 3 patches on Northwest A Street from waterline breaks, a patch on Northwest 9th Street. And we still have more projects in the works. Pushing forward, we got some good input back from an outfit called Black Rock Underground. I've been reaching out to different contractors trying to figure out who could do a process called pipe bursting, which is less invasive and leaves less of a thumbprint, have you, on in the environment in any of the surrounding areas. So from the final stretch that we wanted to get done on the Mill Creek Raw water line, it starts on the Stedco property, crosses behind Kari Street and Donnell on the backside of the railroad. There was something in the works initially, and it was gonna entail, upwards, the money had been thrown around about $1 million. It had to do with different shorings, geological things, different permitting, working with the railroad and having specific people on site. And it was just gonna be a big fiasco. Well, we got a hold of Black Rock Underground out of Hillsborough, and they gave us a quote for pipe bursting, which, like I said, is less invasive. It's a process that basically they send a head that cuts the old line, just basically fillets it, and then pulls the new line in. Long and short, I talked to you folks about it, and I estimated about a $400,000 bill. In talking with them, they came and took a look at it, and we're gonna be able to get done for under $200,000. So that'll finish phase 1A of the Mill Creek line replacement, and we're pretty tickled to hear that.
Yeah.
Good job, Brian.
Nice.
And everything else is going on too, so
I told you they'd be happy.
I'll be happy when it's done, but that's.
Yeah, but anytime we can save $800,000, it's a great day.
Yeah, cause it was good.
Mm-hmm.
You've made a lot of people happy. I don't know how many people I've talked to about how smooth those roads are. You, like I put on Facebook, you took this job head on and just nailed it, and I appreciate
We
that.
still need to talk about 7th Street though.
We've got all kinds of work going on. And for one called Southeast Fur, kind of connects to that 7th Street.
Well, that one might be a little more emergent, yes.
Yeah, people keep asking about First Street. I'm like, it's in the works.
We're in the final stages with the Civil West, and it should be going out for bids here real soon.
Good.
Deal. Yeah, we'll be relieved when that gets in motion too, because that's gonna be a big project and a big eyesore and remediation of huge issues, so.
Right.
Any questions for Brian? Keep doing what you're doing.
Doing a great job. Thank you.
Thank you, council.
All right. Amanda.
It's good to be back. So I've been working. I know you haven't seen me for a little while, but I've been back in the office for a little bit now. We're in the thick of budget season, so that's really been my main focus, digging into numbers. Starting to get numbers turned in from department heads. We're starting to work through some of that. And I've been attending, I'm trying to get up to speed on all the local budget law. So I've been attending Department of Revenue budget trainings to make sure I'm following all of the laws and rules. That's really what I've had going on. And with that in mind, I did want to ask council if you would like to make a discussion item maybe for next time we meet. Is there anything? I know I've spoken with Lisa a little bit and she has talked about different events that you do. Is there anything council would like to think about incorporating into the budget? Town halls, movies in the park, on Memorial Field, things that you do, instead of having events come up and we find the money in the budget, maybe we could be thinking about things that we want to do this next year and planning for that.
Actually plan
Yeah.
and not fly by the seat of our pants.
That's a novel. I would
I know it's a
like,
good idea.
so I'm gonna throw this out, see what you guys think, because I've been thinking about the same thing. We should have a promotional budget for the city. So to cover if we're gonna do ads, if we're going to do outreach to people,
Yeah.
are we gonna bring snacks to a town hall or whatever? We should have a budget that comes out of.
Could we call it promotion and events? Promotion and events? So
Yeah, I mean,
that covers all of
however,
it?
but just have a budget line. I was thinking promotion, but promotion and events is a good.
I've been talking with Doug about this too, and and Lisa, and we're thinking we should have a council budget, council section. So we can line items, specify these type of things. So I think that would be a fantastic idea to have promotional.
Kind of like you have a department for whatever, you're gonna have
Kind
a
of a
council
department for
department that has its own.
So you guys will have a travel and training budget, which you kind of, you already.
Kind of do now, but yeah, not really.
It's
Yeah,
mixed in with admin and stuff.
exactly. Yeah, no, that's an awesome idea.
I think it's fantastic, yeah.
Because we spend the money anyway, so let's identify this and.
Yeah, right.
Yep.
It's more clarity for our voters.
It's more transparent and that we're planning, we're thinking forward and we're budgeting. So I just want to put that on your radar.
Perfect.
So where does the number come from?
Well, probably the spending for the last few years, they look at that and they'll come up with that so far.
We have to see what we spend, but yeah, maybe be thinking of outreach or promotions or events, things that you want to be doing, and so we can identify those and try to incorporate those as we move forward in the budget process.
Should we need to set up a discussion item for April 3rd? Because next week is the URA,
Yeah,
right?
next week's URA, so it'll be the
April
first week.
3rd.
I think that would be the first.
Yes, please.
Great idea.
Sooner than later, because April 26th is our first budget meeting.
Yes.
Yes.
So
April 26th.
No, April 26th is the first actual delivering of the budget, so prior to that.
And
we
then
do
the
have
first meeting's the. Is that correct?
some.
Am I the only one that gets excited about budget?
Probably.
No, I get excited about budget.
So the
Only missed one in
meeting.
28 years.
It's the training.
April 18th.
So 18th is the training, and then the 26th is the first one.
And that's April?
Yes.
Is it?
Hold on, I had a whole bunch of windows up, I'm sorry.
I'm 16, yeah.
And April 26th, that's when we get.
April 26th will be in
I was gonna
April.
say, well,
Yeah.
Yeah, that's,
I think this is.
I think the first one is,
Is it the very well?
Let me
It's
pull
the-
up, let me pull up
I know.
I know.
Weren't you open up?
Friday, that's the other reason I'm kind of curious, because.
So it wouldn't be on a Friday, no.
It's the 30th.
Maybe it is the
I maybe
30th.
missed, I think we were talking about the
Tuesdays,
26th.
yeah, to have our stuff
Stuff
together.
done,
Yep,
yeah.
that's right.
No, I think they get that we
Yeah.
present.
That sounds right.
You
That's-
have the
that's right.
presentation, and then we start coming back the week after.
Not the meeting.
4:30.
No, I like it.
Yeah, the 30th.
So it's the
Yeah.
30th.
April 30th was.
30th.
Thirtieth.
I got confused because I put a deadline with us on the 26th to be ready.
I just have that number, that date in my head. Yeah.
Any other questions for Amanda?
Yeah.
Mike?
Just been working away, Mayor. Yesterday responded to a subpoena and chatted with an attorney that we had some records that they needed and for a civil lawsuit that we're not a party to, so. Got
We're
that
not
out.
a party to?
Yeah, we're not.
That's good.
You like that. Thank you.
But I kind of, you know, I was, what do you mean you want? I said, your request, do you realize that that's 20 years of contracts? And 20 years of billing and no, we narrowed it. It was much narrower than that. It was like a 4-year period, but I think we got him what he wanted. And at Doug's request, worked on a contract, promissory note and a lien for your applicants for the URD revitalization program. Have been working on the public contracting code. Last couple days, talked to the attorney for Northwest Coastal Housing and as well as the attorney for the pool. May have been end of last week. I'm confusing that one, but it kind of runs together and you just kind of run from project to project. I've kind of got to revise the library policies. The public contracting code's a big thing on the plate. You know, me and, well, I'll let the city manager talk about the architectural meeting that we went to.
Thanks.
Or I'll talk about it. The council president was there. We met with SEA, Sid Scott, and they had a contractor that came in with one of 3 big firms that builds pools throughout the nation and kind of threw out a lot of pictures, a lot of examples, a lot of ideas on what it could look like and said, don't get stuck on the existing building that you have. You know, and we talked simple and one level and keep parking and a lot of the issues and how important that facility has been to the Toledo. And I think they were going to work on a conceptual plan and bring that back. So that was a 4-hour meeting last week, the end of the week. But yeah, I think that's probably it.
Okay.
There's other things that I'm working on. I'm just not
Always.
recalling them. You just kind of get pulled one way or the other when the subpoena comes across the email or the fax.
Any questions for Mike, council? All right.
Don't look at me, Mike.
Keep plugging along.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Doug?
Before you do me, I believe, do we have Harrison online?
We do.
Yeah.
Oh.
I think he's here to do the report.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, we've just got a few announcements for the library. First off, our seed library is up and running. Our intrepid volunteer, Deb Height, has been putting that together. We've had some great help from Counselor Sylvia, who donated some seeds. We've got vegetables, fruits, flowers, ornamental, edible, and practical. So come down and check that out if you get a chance. And it's still growing. Thank you, everyone who's helped out with that. We've had some volunteer interests and applications come in, so we're sending those up to City Hall to go through background checks and all of that. So we're hoping to be onboarding some more folks coming up here pretty soon. That's been exciting. Events wise, March 30th at 1 p.m., the Korean Spirit and Culture Promotion Project will be leading a hybrid virtual / in-person Lotus Lantern craft workshop. So you can call
first?
No,
March
March
30th.
March
30th.
30th.
Oh, 30th. I heard March 1st and I was like, we've already had March 1st. Thank you.
Yep, March 30th in our downstairs
Heard
meeting
something
room at 1
entirely
p.m. So you can call the library to reserve your spot. We've had one of these at the library before. It was well attended. It was a lot of fun. It was a packed house last time. Everyone gets to make their own paper lantern that holds a tea light, an LED tea light, safety first. It's fun, it's informative, it's free. Seating is limited, spots are available. You learn about Korean culture and history, and you get a craft to take home. So, spread the word if you're feeling generous and call to reserve your own spot if you're not. Through the month of April, Native Innovation will be on display at the library. This is from the University of Oregon's Museum of Natural and Cultural History. It's part of a fleet of traveling exhibits they have called Museum Adventures, and this one showcases engineering and other technological innovations of First Nations in Oregon. So, of course, there's a lot of history there, but it's not just history, it's current stuff too. The exhibit was developed with the participation of the Confederated Tribes of Grand Ronde, Confederated Tribes of Siletz Indians, the Coquille Indian Tribe, the Cow Creek Band of Umpqua Tribe of Indians, and the Confederated Tribes of the Coos, Lower Umpqua, and Siuslaw Indians. So there's been a lot of folks come together to make this exhibit. We're really looking forward to having it. Again, it will be on our main floor throughout April to browse and explore. And I was a museum guy before I was a library guy, so I'm really looking forward to having some museum stuff on our floor.
Love it.
And that's kind of what I've got.
So Harrison,
Yeah.
I need you to email me what, for lack of a better word, how you set up the seed catalog and essentially a list of what you have in it. Because that has probably been the most commented on post I've shared over the last few weeks.
Cool.
There are people, let's just say all across the country that want to know how you did that and how it can be replicated. So if you could send me that so I can forward it all on to those folks, I would be greatly appreciated.
It'll be a very long
I'm
list.
making a note right
I
now.
understand, but that's why I do it in email and not by typing myself.
All right, will do. Thank
Thank
you. Ryan.
you. Any questions for Harrison?
No, thank you, Harrison.
Thank you.
Excited about that exhibit.
Yeah, it's gonna be cool.
Oh, Harrison, I have a question for you. I do. Do you have books on shipwrecks of the Oregon coast there?
What was that?
I hope we do. If I don't have any, I can certainly get some for you. But yeah, we'll have to check the catalog, see what we've got. I mean, we must. If we don't, I'm sure somebody in network does. And if not, I'll shake something loose for you.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, Doug.
All right, so to talk about, let's see, one thing I wanted to bring up, news I'm working on with Brian on the wastewater treatment plant. We lost or have been revoked our spreading license up on 3 farms or 4 farms.
There were 5 different locations.
5 different locations, yes, but we still have, all of them were backups. And so it wasn't our main location. But with that note and with the things that are coming down through DEQ, we're really gonna have to start getting on the ball to get some stuff. And I am looking into some alternatives. I've been, we're really looking at what Depot Bay just did. We're kind of looking at that right now.
What did they just do?
They put in basically they press the water out and keep the solids and then they haul the solids to Philomath. Is the way that the method works.
Philomath or Coffin Butte?
Oh, Coffin Butte, sorry. They go to Coffin Butte, Newport goes to Philomath, sorry. So, but that, so we're looking at different options, what we can do. Stephen Huber is working on pricing out what those systems are gonna cost. Roughly, we're probably looking at probably $500,000 to put in this system fully engineered. And automated and
Looking at something before about drying it and then burning it or
we
something?
were looking at some serious stuff, that came in at about 2 million for that investment. Not out of the realm yet, but it's not approved by DEQ at this point in time.
Oh, okay.
So they're testing it in Idaho. To see how it's gonna work. And then when they get numbers to DEQ, we'll see if DEQ.
So is our goal to move away from spreading it on fields?
Yes, that is the goal.
I thought that was, but I was just.
And just getting rid of right, talking to Stephen, we'd have about 70,000 pounds a year that we would have to get rid of. So there's cost, obviously, to taking that to the different places. He's pricing out that so we know what it's gonna do to our overall budget and things there.
And then, and to add to that, there's a good chance Coffin Butte's gonna close in 5 years.
I heard that.
I
Yeah,
thought that's why we were looking for an alternative.
exactly, because it's gonna be up to the voters of Benton County on whether or not to allow the expansion of Coffin Butte. If they vote no, then they can't expand Coffin Butte waste facility. And so at that point, it becomes, we ship to Arlington. Or we ship to a place down St. Josephine County somewhere. It's the other.
I think the closest is Arlington, I think. Or the most economical, because it'd be mostly interstate. So yes, we're starting to look at those things. The message coming from DEQ has been heard loud and clear. They're really not wanting to renew those permits, as you can see. They did offer us that we could try to renew those, but the process to renew that they've added in is huge. And you can only imagine with it near the Silettes and all that stuff, what you're gonna.
Oh, you missed all those meetings, didn't you?
Yes.
But I've heard about them, so. So that's the biggest, probably like kind of saddest news maybe I have there. You guys heard through the URA, we got 2 people coming. I'm excited. We have more applications. The problem is they didn't read the rules, which we can only apply for 1 loan at a time. So some people submitted like 2 and I don't know. Those are things that we'll have to discuss going forward if we wish to honor more than 1 at one time. Especially if they're like 1 for different properties and not the same properties, because some of these builder people own a couple different properties. So I think they're kind of interested maybe if it's per property versus per person type thing.
And do we have any, like, say you have somebody that owns 5 different LLCs? Are those considered separate entities from them, or are we asking who the LLCs belong to and making sure that we still have the same person only applying for 1?
It's based on the company or person. So if it's a different LLC, it's based on the building owner. Because if it's a separate building owner, we can put another lien, because we're basing it on only 1 lien per owner. Right?
So if each of their buildings was owned by a separate LLC, they can get away with multiple applications.
How would you view that, Mike?
It's a real question.
And the LLC removes it from the person, so.
No, not necessarily. No, it doesn't.
Doesn't it?
No, it puts a legal protection over that.
It does. The LLC is essentially an entity and
That's.
But
But an LLC can be a sole proprietor too.
I'm trying to think in the agreement we used.
So that's, we'll have to get you an answer on that. I don't.
I just was throwing it out there because it popped in my head. I'm like, are we considering that?
There has been a little discussion, but we haven't vetted it out far. And we don't have that issue yet, but
But
you're right, it needs to be thinking about it.
it's
Good to be preemptive.
And you can throw corporations and partnerships and other business entities in there too, and there are, yeah, so, you know, the ropes they created to get around some of these things.
You can stack
The other good news, Mayor Cross will probably share, but we did get the 640,000 for the Olala Meadows. And so that'll go towards water infrastructure upgrades to help get the Olala Meadows up off the ground and get going. We did not get the money for the public safety building, but there is a caveat to that. I talked to Representative Gomberg. Oh gosh, it was last Friday maybe. But basically what he told me was they removed all police and fire stations from everything. And what they're gonna do next session is he's gonna do a statewide measure just for police and fire stations. And he's gonna go after the full 5 million for us. So is what he said. So we'll see if that comes to fruition and see what happens, but we're hoping that that'll
One
be.
thing that I can say about David Goldberg, if he says he's gonna do something, he does it.
I know, I've been trying for a lull to.
Go ahead.
Harrison.
Yeah. Just to confirm, because I can't see too good on my laptop, that was Counselor Mix who asked about the shipwreck books.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. I got a hold on one that we have locally. It'll be at the front desk for you tomorrow. The other one that I found is going to be sent from Clatsop. It'll probably get there maybe Friday.
Can you set those aside for Counselor Bush?
For Bush, yes.
Yeah,
I'm changing
thank you.
holds on those.
Thank
now.
you. I'll still get you the other ones I have. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Harrison.
You're welcome.
So to follow up on Doug's last comment about Representative Gomberg. So by chance, he and I were on the same flight coming back from Washington DC. And so what do you do in Reagan National Airport when you have to wait for a couple hours? You talk politics with your local politician.
Oh, wow.
He is adamant about putting that forward because of what ended up getting included into that spending bill. So water and wastewater were really the only things in there except for a couple of stadium improvements.
Yes. Correct.
What?
Thank you. And you have to understand, I have known Representative Gomberg for quite a while now, and we've talked and discussed things, and he's been very good. It's the only time I have ever heard him swear.
Imagine why.
And the reason it passed is because it had a ton of great stuff for all across the state in water and wastewater. And then those two things were added at the end. So he's adamant about going after just for public safety and for fire, and to make sure that those things get funded, because as he put it in committee, all they talked about was the water and wastewater stuff. And then
Can we build a funny looking stadium that police and dispatchers hang out at?
don't, please, it took me a half hour to get him calmed down. So.
Lastly, I just want to shout out to this team. You guys have heard how busy they are. I'm proud of them. They're great. They deserve the recognition. When you see them out and about, please tell people to thank them, because they are working hard and are working hard for you guys. So.
Well, I have to tell you, I'm going by the water that's being laid. I don't know how many of you have seen the old cartoons and the old things where, you know, 4 guys leaning on a shovel and 1 guy working. Well, there were 5 guys and every one of them was working at something. And people got to understand, our public works work, and just go watch them because they work. They might stop and talk for a minute about what's the best way to do something, but they're working. And it's the best advertisement we can have for you. Is the fact that those guys work and they don't go out there and lean on shovels like certain other departments do. Not in this town, but in, shall we say, higher echelons of government, and we'll just leave it at that.
That's all I have. I'm proud of these guys, all of them. They're all been busy fire police. I mean, solve a case within a couple days of very grainy video and to go on their hunches and it pays out. I think that was awesome. And that shows because they're out and about and they know these people and the people that are out and about and paying attention. I mean, Chief Pace had interaction with this guy before it happened, and one of the first people that came to mind was this guy. So Dalen, same thing, had interaction with this guy, and the first thing comes to mind is, I think this is the guy, and the evidence fit, and that's why they solved it so quickly. And you'll be surprised how many cameras are down around Memorial Field.
Oh, I know.
So, not besides ours.
Oh, I know.
So, but you know, it's just great, you know. These guys are working hard, everybody's working hard, and so, thank you, that's all.
All right.
Thank you, ma'am, for coming.
I'm Ruth Ann Morris and I'm on the planning commission.
Well, we never see other, it's nice to see another face so you're on the, okay,
I'm on the
good,
planning commission.
nice. Good.
You beat me to it. Thank you.
Well, I just love
I
seeing
was
your
wondering,
face in here.
Well, and she's half and she's, big nose. I like it.
Yeah.
3 years.
So
Now
we'll
she
go,
knows we're crazy.
well, she's on planning commission.
She
So
already
she
knew
knows
we
we
were
got to be
crazy.
crazy.
She's met my husband, we're good.
So council comments, I'll start with Councilor Sylvia first.
Okay, well, the first question I have is, I guess I forgot to ask Brian. At the intersection of Alder and Sturtevant, that grate that is constantly flooding the road, is there any, I've been asked by numerous people, is there any view of getting that cleared up so it doesn't always flood out that road?
You say the
Alder Lane Drive
Yeah.
and Sturtevant, that pump house down there, there's a grate that city had put blocks around it.
storm grate?
Yeah,
Yeah, it
constantly floods. Is there any way to fix that?
because it goes underneath the road and goes out into the slough, and the slough gets backed up or a high tide, what have you. It pushes sediment, everything else back in there. We gotta figure out a better way.
You'd have to have a
Yeah.
floodgate.
Yeah.
What's that?
You'd have to have a floodgate in there. Stop it from backing up.
Had one on it, but either way, if the water gets up a certain height,
Mhm.
it's not gonna push itself back out. Especially when we get a lot of rainfall.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's an issue. Nothing in the short term, but definitely on the radar.
And then on the other comments, Harrison forgot a few things about the library. So I'll say, because I was in talking with Denise. And there's a poetry contest that's going all month of April. It's open to all ages. All poets will be entered into a drawing for a huge tree puzzle. They're all gonna be displayed on the windows of the library for the month of April. And then that finishes up on April 27th for the 80th birthday of Smokey the Bear. Sorry, can't leave that out. There's gonna be fun activities.
Actually, I'm sorry, it's Smokey Bear.
Not in
That's
my
why
view.
he said it.
Not in my view. It's still Smokey the Bear. I don't care who's defending it. The poetry contest finishes up then. The greater Toledo pool is gonna be there, reading stations, snacks and swags. April 19th, I don't know if anybody pays attention to Lego Masters, but Kelly Bartlett, contestant from the Lego Masters, is gonna be at the library. 2 p.m. there's a presentation, then there's a meet and greet, and then you can build Legos with her. And then there's 3 different dates that Miss Denise is doing something called Teens and Tweens.
Yeah.
Arts and Eats. It's Friday, the 29th of March, April 18th. And then May 11th, where you're gonna have different stations of things you can do and get these kids out of the house and doing stuff. And then that seed library, there's literally hundreds of different types of stuff.
I know.
You guys can go down and.
I tried to explain that to a couple of people who got a hold of me, and they're like, yeah, but we don't know what all, I'm like, okay, I'll get a list.
Yeah, there's a huge, I took a huge box of seed packs down there
I
for them.
figured you did.
So and then somebody else went down there and it's like, can I organize this? I think it was the lady from New Lido. So she organized it and all ordered for them in a box, so they all got them all sorted out.
Where?
New Lido, it's the community garden down Fruitvale Road. That's what they call it, is New Lido. Cause it's
I didn't know
Newport,
she, I
Toledo.
didn't know she changed the name, okay.
Yeah, it's New Lido. And so she came in and organized it, but they've got a big tall filing cabinet just.
Yeah, I saw that.
Now.
Yeah.
So, and it's, people can go down and check out 10 packs a year just to get out there and garden.
Nice.
That's it.
Okay, Counselor Burns. Nada?
Just happy to be here.
Okay, Tracy. Becky?
I'm day shift now. Your mother will live in. We'll see. Let me get used to it. And I don't know if I'll be able to make the April 18th meeting, depending on the festivities and stuff. It's my parents' 60th anniversary.
Oh.
Yes, Sue. People stay married that long if they live that long.
Especially the wife's tractor home.
Much further to go.
Well, congratulations.
Thanks.
Sue?
I attended the board meeting last night and they are very busy down there. They're getting a lot of the big boats and such in. And I again saw that they're approved for the sewer line extension out there, money wise. So I hope that that comes to fruition pretty quick here. Because it would really help them out. Went to a meeting in Walport about the water stuff going on with the spraying and the trees and all that. And the gentleman that was doing the seminar this time, he was a Harvard graduate and he was from Oak Ridge. And he wasn't real fond of the wood products industry, so I was suspect. And came away with one good thing, and that was that corporate entities and such are destroying our country, and look out for that. But other than that, I just didn't, again, I'm glad to see I went to a planning commission meeting and listened to their board on there, and those people on there, they're feisty now, and that's good. But you have a big job coming up because we just approved that. Yes. Okay.
Okay. Jim?
I don't think I have anything. I'm just running away next week, so I won't be here.
We'll have fun.
Thanks.
Harrison?
I was just going to piggyback on there to Counselor Sylvia. First off, thank you for the reminder on those April events. I had announced them at the meeting last month, but it's right around the corner. So thank you for bringing that back to the forefront. But I got to say, it's Smokey Bear. I got to face him that day. I got to face him. And if I get it wrong, he might drown me and stir me and drown me again. Thank you.
Nothing?
I don't think so. I'm excited about the pool and the community center.
Also, while you all were doing fun stuff
Playing.
and doing that, I got home from Washington DC at 30 on Thursday morning and then went to an all-day economic development meeting. The keynote speaker that they had is a researcher from Minnesota. And he's been doing work for a few of the counties out here. And one of the things that I found interesting is that, people talk about rural America is dying and people are always moving out. There's actually rural America has grown by 11%. And here in this county, I can tell you, when I moved here 28 years ago, we only had 41,000 people. We're at 51 and growing. So rural America is not shrinking, it's just, it's changing. And there were a lot of good, things that came out of it. EDEL, it's the Economic Development Alliance of Lincoln County. I am very impressed with that organization. They're staying on top of stuff instead of being completely reactive. They're actually trying to be proactive. They're working closely with the college, because one of the things that, if you've been here long enough, you've heard everyone complain in Toledo, why don't we have more trades? Why don't we have more of those type of skills being taught here? Because that's what people do here, right? And the college is actually going to have a ballot measure up to essentially start an entire trade section within the college. And for those of you that have been around a while, Bud Shoemake and myself are part of the committee to try and help form getting it here. Hopefully getting an outreach center here in Toledo to do that trades work.
Yeah, Bud was integral in helping get the welding program going too.
Oh boy, was he ever?
Yeah.
And that's part of what we're gonna be, you know, I mean, I've spoken to them many times about it, so does Bud, but it's like we have a track record here of students that are ready to get going in a trade, even in high school. And so that's one of the reasons why we think we have a good shot at getting an outreach program here, like they have in Walport, like they have in Lincoln City. So looking forward to that. Washington, DC was not just, and when I say a good time, what I mean by that is mission accomplished in a lot of ways. I got to meet with Representative Hoyle. She is all on board with our congressionally directed spending ask. And talking to her about essentially federal dollars coming back to the coast. Because as we've all seen on 101, right? And by the way, this is US 20, not Oregon 20.
Yeah.
And so dollars coming back for US 20. She's very much, she sees what's going on out here and realizes how much traffic patterns have changed in just the last 5 years, that there's got to be more investment made. I don't know how many of you have been north of Newport, but the Moolac Shores and those other sections heading up to Foulweather. I don't know if anybody's noticed, but it looks like the same Band-Aid that they've been doing now.
That's what I was like, when are they actually gonna fix it and not just keep slapping asphalt?
Exactly. And that was part of what I talked to her about, is that we need an injection of federal funding to fix the road so that we're not just always putting a Band-Aid over it.
And that's gonna take a lot of engineering,
Yes, it does, but it's gonna take the money to do it. And that's the thing.
an unsound area, it always has been.
And so gotta figure, you're right, here, we must be wrapping up. One of the other things that I spoke about being the NLC representative was PFAS, or polyfluoroalkyl substances. And in case you're wondering, that's part of the reason why DEQ is becoming so hot on not spreading it anymore. Because under current technology for wastewater, we cannot deal with PFAS. There is no current technology that is under not millions of dollars, but we're talking B dollars, okay, to be able to handle it. Which is why I went down the Sirius road when I did, because Sirius will take care of PFAS. And that's why I'm hoping, praying, every other good thoughts thing, whatever you can think of, to try and make sure that project works. Because if it does, it's the game changer we've all been needing. And so spoke to her about that, because cities are now coming under the gun for not being able to treat PFAS. And so now there are groups lining up to sue us because we're discharging PFAS. We didn't create the problem. We don't, there's no way for us to treat it. And they want to hold us accountable. So that was one of the major talking points. A a feather in the city of Toledo's cap. And Mike, I'm putting this swirly on your shoulders here. I was in a housing and homelessness seminar with cities from across the country. And one of the questions brought up is, what do we do about absentee landlords and corporate landlords and so on and so forth? And you will find this to be amusing because I didn't have a good answer for that. And so at the round table at the end, I said, well, what we've done is our livability code to help us rein these folks in. I have now sent 47 copies of all that out to people across the country. So, and I'm pretty sure I'll get more requests the next few weeks as that makes its way out there. And I sent both the Corvallis one and I labeled that cities with real big budgets and ours as city with one guy trying to hustle it all up. Okay. But it's becoming a problem nationwide. And believe it or not, we are on the cutting edge of trying to find ways to deal with that from a municipal level. And so thank you, Mike. You made us look good. I appreciate it a bunch. It's interesting. I know it's a team effort, but
Yeah, it was all of us.
you're the one that took that 144 page thing.
We couldn't have done it without you.
Exactly. You were able to parse it down to a, for lack of a better word, human level.
That was our 1,025 questions.
And our 472 revisions, all those other things. Thank you.
Glad you're sticking around.
Thank you.
Got to see a lot of monuments. Got to see a city that, oh my gosh, how it has changed in 40 years. Because the last time I was there was in April of 1984.
Oh, wow.
And Reagan National was not an airport then. It was a lot of flat land. And there weren't and I know I'm a country guy, so skyscrapers to me are anything 10 stories or above. Well, there are skyscrapers everywhere now. I mean, housing, apartments, everything, just wow. But it was, I'll be honest, as a veteran, it was inspiring. It brought a lot of really good feelings to me being there and seeing those things. And a highlight, and once again, I'm going to preface this as a veteran, to be 6 rows from the commander in chief. Whether you like him or not, it doesn't matter. Right? I knew guys when I was in that couldn't stand around right. Okay. And that I'm just saying it because it's just being there and being able to see him up close and personal was amazing. I never thought in my lifetime that would ever happen. Because, they don't generally come out to Oregon for anything, no matter who they are. Even when they're campaigning, they don't come out. I think Bobby Kennedy was probably the last real presidential candidate that came to Oregon.
He only went to Portland.
No, he went all the way down the coast.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he had a rally in Newport. He had a rally, and the rally in Coos Bay was the last one he had before he was shot.
Oh, all that campaigned in Portland.
Maybe, but
I
I
thought
mean,
Michelle showed up to Portland.
That's what it
yeah.
was.
See, I mean,
You're right,
it's-
it was
yeah.
her, not him.
This whole
Somebody
thing
did at
should-
least represented him.
But, just being able to be there, it was inspiring to go and to do that work. I got to work with a lot of good people, a lot of our Oregon delegation. I think we did a good job. We got through to a couple of our folks about, look, got to represent Oregon, not your party. And when I say a couple of folks, do the math. We weren't talking about the same party. So it was a good time. Got a lot of stuff done. Didn't get a lot of sleep. That 4-hour, because we went on the spring forward weekend. Didn't get a lot of sleep the whole time I was there. And so to put it mildly, so I got back from the econ development thing, passed out at 5 o'clock, woke up at 4 a.m. And then the trundled on. And then Saturday night, fell asleep at 6, woke up at noon. So, yeah. I think I'm finally back on some sort of a schedule again. But I have to admit, I'm getting a little old for this jet setting stuff. But thank you all. There are people I want to give a shout out to who prayed for me. I did not step in the well of Congress and tell them to go to work. So I did say that to a few people though, and they did chuckle. We do have people back there that are trying to work together. So hopefully they'll figure out that it's about making sausage, and we'll see some more things happening on that level. For Doug's edification, if we don't get that in the bill next year, the 5 million, Senator Merkley's office said, come back to them, see what they can do for some sort of an emergency funding thing. So that was before I spoke to Representative Gomberg on the way back. So we're gonna have to keep that up to date, but Senator Merkley's office was very receptive. With that, John needs to go home, so we're adjourned.